I'm now speaking with Tom Freistroffer. Tom, why did you decide to enter the political arena?
Well, it kind of goes back with my background. I went to Notre Dame. I took political science at Notre Dame and graduated in the political sciences, and always had a yearning to be a teacher and help the community when I graduated from Notre Dame. Those were a couple of the things that were in my mind in 1973 when I graduated from Notre Dame. I did have a minor in education from St. Mary's, up adjacent to Notre Dame, and ended up getting a master's degree in education. To make a long story short, I was a social studies teacher, a world history teacher. I did some anthropology, mostly history, and we had Congress sessions in the classrooms. And you know, you study politics when you really learn more as a teacher than I did as a student. And did a lot of politics, government, U.S. history in the classrooms, and that got into my blood, along with just a general deep feeling to try to help my community in some way. I've always tried to be a teacher. I've given back to education, and have been involved in different various jobs with the city, and those are some of the reasons why, Eric.
You know, what is it about U.S. history that most intrigued you?
I enjoyed the Civil War. I think that was a big time in our history. Just to study the presidents, study their character, you know, study the wars, World War I, World War II. Those were big things that I think that every student should realize and understand, that you know, a lot of people before us sacrificed their lives for our freedom.
You know, as I hear students talk about how boring U.S. history is, I've come to the conclusion that they've heard other people say how boring U.S. history is, and so therefore they never really got engaged with it.
Right. Yes, U.S. history is difficult, I think, teaching junior high students along with high school students. I know that you have a background in studying the history of Fort Wayne, and I know you've talked to the candidates about, you know, looking into the history of Fort Wayne, and I think it's important for everybody to realize where they came from. And I think a big thing with the students, just to get their attention, is that it was a time period before them, and somehow you had to relate to them that their freedom really stood on what happened to their predecessors.
You know, why do we tend to ignore it here in the city here? You know, I've noticed that for a long time now, we never rely. We never, in all the ad campaigns about Fort Wayne, it never mentions really the history of Fort Wayne, and they go out here and almost make up history.
Right, right. Well, you know, Fort Wayne's got a very cultured history. You know, starting from the Erie Canal down to the Landing. As a matter of fact, my family has a restaurant, Columbia Street West. My brother owns Columbia Street down the Landing, so I'm pretty familiar with the Landing. But no, I think it's important for everybody to look back into the history, you know, starting from the Native Americans and, you know, what they went through and how General Wayne came through this area, and you know, the Miami Indians. I mean, I live in the Lakeside area, which was a big camping ground area there for the Miami Indians. I grew up right across from Lakeside Park, where, you know, the statue, I believe, of General Wayne is over there. Either that or it's downtown. But no, I think it's important, and you know, it's hard sometimes to get people to look into that if it doesn't relate to them. Today we live in a me society, and you know, if it doesn't seem to relate to them in their everyday life, it's kind of hard sometimes. But I think every student should look into that. I think they should have actually classes in the classrooms here at Fort Wayne about the history of Fort Wayne.
You know, one more thing about that. You mentioned that you lived in Lakeside. You know that the land there from Maumee River back to Tennessee, that, you know, where the battle that took place there, that's number 3 in all-time U.S. history in the warfare. The only battle that had more casualties than that was Custer's Last Stand. You know, Little Turtle had 2 of the top 3 largest killing battles against the Americans fighting over this land here, and that's a hell of a record that we totally ignore here.
Exactly, exactly.
You know?
I'm in a Rotary Club. We had a gentleman that came in that works for Blue Jacket here in Fort Wayne. Are you familiar
Yes.
with Blue Jacket? And he said if it wasn't for Blue Jacket, we wouldn't have Fort Wayne. And I think he talked about Blue Jacket and Little Turtle fighting the cavalry, and you know the battle was that. Did he fight with Little Turtle?
What?
I know he fought with one of the Indian chiefs and defeated the cavalry, and then General Wayne came back into Fort Wayne, and you know, part of our name is Fort Wayne, General Wayne.
Yeah, that'll be debatable there, but back to yourself here. You know, once you become a member of council, you know, what do you want to add to council? I mean, what are they doing that you can improve upon?
Well, I think that first of all, you need people that are not career politicians. I don't consider myself a career politician. I consider myself someone that kind of mirrors, you know, a normal person that we have, you know, here in today's, you know, society in Fort Wayne. Diversification, I think I can bring. Back when I started out in high school, I've worked in the Fort Wayne hospitals. I've worked for construction companies on our roads. I've worked for the city where I've cleaned up our parks. I've actually worked in the park department in the summers when I wasn't going to school. I've been on the Fort Wayne Board of Zoning Appeals. I've got a background in education as far as our youth. So, I mean, there's a lot of different areas I think that that I could bring to the table. Of course, you can only bring areas I think that relate to your background, Eric. My background is education. You know, I'd like to look out for our youth. It's in real estate now. I'm a real estate appraiser, and I'm a realtor. I've been in literally thousands of homes here in Fort Wayne. You know, as far as bringing businesses in, looking at lots, and dealing with business permits, making it a little easier, streamlining them when they come in. I'm a businessman. I've been an entrepreneur for several years, so I can bring that aspect to the table. I think safety is big here. I've never been a policeman or in the fire department, but I think safety is big. So when I look at what I can bring, is bring new businesses to Fort Wayne, downtown, the heart of Fort Wayne. You know, look out for the youth and education of our young, and basically public safety, and of course the backbone of our city are our neighborhoods. You know, listening to the needs of our neighborhoods. You know, the Freistroffer name's been around across from Republican headquarters, down on the corner of Harrison and Main Street. You've got Stoner's Magic Shop. If you ever look up on there, it says the Freistroffer block. That was my great-grandfather's blacksmith shop. My brother John now has a restaurant down the street, Columbia Street. My dad was Henry, owned Henry's Tavern down across from the New Sentinel. My relatives were the Freiburgers. They had the Central Grocery, which is down by Starbucks off of Jefferson Street. So, you know, we have had businesses in Fort Wayne, and I'd like to help retain businesses and learn as much as I can about making it easier for businesses to come into Fort Wayne.
You know, right now there's a movement here to create an identity for Fort Wayne, and you know, we've gone to Iowa and we've gone all over the entire universe,
right,
trying to bring things in here. You know, what is your vision of Fort Wayne, and how do you see Fort Wayne being, or how do you want to see Fort Wayne yourself?
Well, you know, we have how do I want to word it here, a very precious entity with our three rivers. And you know, you look at some of the bigger towns like Louisville and Cincinnati and some of the towns that have built up on the rivers. I think it's very wise for us to look into that river development. I think that's just a, you know, precious commodity that we have. Of course, I know it's easier said than done, trying to acquire the lots from the Army Corps of Engineers and so on and so forth to just establish your base, you know, to create that riverfront development. But I would really like to, you know, be a part of that riverfront development. I think that's a commodity that we have to look out. Just bringing more bringing more businesses to downtown. I think our stadium, our baseball stadium downtown, was a great entity that, you know, brings people to downtown. Of course, when you want to build your downtown, your heart of your city, you have to have, you know, you have to have some residential areas and some grocery stores and so on. So, you know, all of these are, I think, pieces of the puzzle that I'd like to be a part of to make Fort Wayne a better city to live in.
You know, as you talk about making Fort Wayne more inclusive, one thing that's always kind of made me curious, you know, the first fort here was French, you know, and, you know, as I was studying New Orleans, I was watching a documentary, and it said that you could leave New Orleans and make one stop and be in Montreal, and that one stop was right here. This was part of a highway system that connected the entire North American continent all the way to Europe. And, you know, we just totally ignore that. Now, is that too difficult to show the international nature of the history of Fort Wayne to make it relevant here for today in an inclusive environment?
Well, somehow we have to reach our young people, you know, with that, and I don't see where it would be wrong when you're talking about U.S. history in the classrooms to talk about the history of Fort Wayne. Of course, we are part of our U.S. history. You know, you just have to bring that to our young. It's you know, you talk about the French, you know, coming in here at the beginning. I just heard in the last couple of weeks that the largest fresh body of water that actually exits out into the Great Lakes is the Maumee River from here. You know, so the Maumee River was a great thoroughfare or throughway, you know, into this area. I know that you know, the rivers are connected in many ways, and those were all part of the settlement of Fort Wayne. But yes, I think everybody needs to learn more about the history of where they live.
You know, how did you, in your days of athletics, how did you go about making sure that you used athletics instead of letting athletics use you?
Well, you know, as you get older and you mature, you look back, and a lot of good things came out of me having the opportunity to play football for the University of Notre Dame. Of course, I went on a 4-year scholarship up there. You know, you learn, first of all, hard work. You have to put your nose to the grind. You learn to work as a team, you know, and teamwork. And I think that's part of, you know, being on the city council. You know, you have to work together as a team on both sides of the table. You know, you have to be bipartisan. And I think that some of the values that I received from sports, as far as teamwork, working hard, and working with people, communicating with people, and you know, basically following the instructions that I needed to do to get to where I did get are important to me as a mature adult.
So now, are those the key attributes that ties the athletic mindset to other successful avenues in life? I mean, what you described there?
You know, I think nothing comes easy in life, Eric, and I think that you have to develop a work ethic. You have to be competitive in life, whether it's in business, or whether it's in education, or whether it's sitting on the city council table. You know, you have to be competitive in bringing businesses to Fort Wayne. You have to be competitive to advance yourself, and I think that the aggressive type of things, so to speak, that I had to do as an athlete, yeah, do carry over into your mature life. But you know, there's a lot of attributes that I think that athletes have, as well as any endeavor. It wouldn't have to be just an athlete. It could be in any endeavor in life that has a positive reinforcement to you as an adult.
You know, last thing here, you know, what do you want to say to people who don't know you or your background or anything? You know, why are you the perfect guy for this job here at City Council?
Well, once again, I think it goes back to diversification of what you've done in your past. I've been a teacher. I've coached our young, I've coached our youth here. I've had a chance to be a head football coach in high school in Kalamazoo, in Chicago, so I've been a leader. I've been a teacher. My background working with the city, I've worked with the city parks in the summers, and once again I've worked, you know, cleaning up our city. I actually was on a truck with some younger people in my latter years of college. You know, I'm in real estate. I understand real estate. I understand assessments, property values, and I think that just a real estate background, I think is big when you would want to sit at the city council table. I've been on the zone of boarding appeals, familiar with zoning. My family's in the restaurant business. We're entrepreneurs, basically, the Freistroffer family. So I bring a little bit different aspect than, let's say, an attorney would bring to the table. Not downplaying anything that an attorney has done. You know, I'm sure they have diversified backgrounds, or maybe a doctor that comes to the table. I look at myself as a diversified person that has done a lot in my life, hopefully more for the positive, to help people and teach people and try to bring those type of things to the table.
You know, you mentioned something that I've got to ask about here. You mentioned your family here a few times. Obviously, genealogy is important to you. What is about genealogy, you know, even going back to your great-grandfather there, what is about genealogy that you can personally feel today? Because a lot of people feel that those people are dead and they're gone, and you still can't feel their spirits.
Oh, yeah, I think you have to look as to where you came from and what your great-grandparents did for a living. My genealogy tells me that the Freistroffers came from Alsace, Lorraine, France, up by the France-Germany border, came into the Columbus, Ohio area sometime around the mid-1850s, and then migrated over to Fort Wayne. Mostly business people, you know, in my background, and entrepreneurs. Yeah, I think you have to look at that. You know, not that you have to mimic that, but I think that it's like anything else. It's like studying the history of Fort Wayne, the history of the United States, or world history. You become more cultured to, I think, what you are when you look at your genealogy.
Tom, thank you very much.
All right, thank you, sir.
And thank you for watching.